Hey guys, Brandon Woolham with CCM Magazine, and today we are hanging out with Tammy Rogers of the Grammy Award-winning group, the SteelDrivers. How are you today?
I am doing great. I've got my coffee, so ready to rock this morning.
Yeah. So just a few days ago, put out the new gospel album on September 8th, Tougher Than Nails. I'm seeing it right too. This is the first gospel album, right? The first official gospel album, full on.
Yes, indeed. I'm nodding my head. I need to remember that people probably are they watching this or are they just hearing the audio?
They're watching this one.
Oh, good. Okay, well then I can gesture. Okay, good. Yes, it is in fact our very first gospel, and we're super excited about it.
Well, if you're going to do a gospel album, I guess Gaither music is a good place to start.
You
What's the
know, we couldn't have asked for anything to have fallen in place any better. I mean, I'm a believer myself, and I think everything works the way it's supposed to and the way God intends it, and this is certainly the perfect example of that.
There's always a lot of crossover with gospel and bluegrass, but what finally made you guys want to do a full gospel album and not just a few songs here and there?
Um, I think we've done 5 records in the past, which I mean, we don't put out a record every year. We're not kind of the typical bluegrass band in that way. Most bands will put out a new record, if not every year, almost every year, to supplement their touring and the income. And we certainly get all that, but we've always been more of the mind that we do them when they're ready. And we do them, to make sure that they're the musical statement that we want to put out into the world. So that's been, on average, kind of that 3-year cycle, more or less, 3 to 4 year cycle. And for me, I've always felt like I wanted each record to be different from the other, and kind of take our fans and take our listeners on a musical journey and allow them, to go with us and travel with us to these different, things and interests that we have. And certainly it just felt like the timing was right to do something unexpected, if you will, and also, but something that made a whole lot of sense. It occurred to me, I think at some point last year, that our most requested song, hands down, is a song called "Where Rainbows Never Die." And, it doesn't use the word heaven. It doesn't use the terminology, God, Father, Jesus, the Son, any of that, but it is a gospel song. It's a spiritual song. And, it talks about, crossing over and, where you're going and you're leaving your burdens behind. So it's a beautiful, poetic way of talking about heaven, in my opinion. And that's the song that we close out every night with. That's the song that we come back and encore with. So to me, it made perfect sense that, as long as we stayed true to our sound, if you will, and our musical style, that bringing our listeners on this journey, that it would flow seamlessly together. And I really think that it has.
And as people go down this album, Tougher Than Nails, they're going to hear some songs that they recognize, and they're also going to hear some new songs that you've written for this one, some original tracks on this one. How did you narrow down what songs you were going to put on this project?
It was kind of a combination between things that, all of us in the band, we grew up going to church. We may have been out playing on Saturday night, but we were up the next morning sitting in that pew singing along and living that life. So we all had songs that we loved and that we grew up with, but we also worked with the Gaither staff. I mean, they have an incredible library and data on what songs people want to hear, and part of this process was, them talking to us about, it's not just we want to hear SteelDrivers play gospel. We want to hear your take on, some of the greatest gospel songs of all time, really. So it was kind of that combination, and, working with them, we narrowed the list down. We're like, well, how about these? And they were like, oh yeah, those are great. Those are, some of the top 20 gospel songs of all times. So we were able to pull from that. And then we definitely wanted to include something that Bill and Gloria had written. And going home, I was kind of searching through. I knew a lot of their catalog, and we were very fortunate. I don't know if your listeners are aware that we were asked to contribute a song to the larger, Bill and Gloria Gaither tribute album that just came out this fall, which has, Reba McEntire and the Isaacs and Ronnie Dunn and Josh Turner and Jamie Johnson, Alabama. I mean, just monster, artists. So we were thrilled to be able to contribute. And we did, I believe, in a hill called Mount Calvary, which is a personal favorite of mine. So, we wanted to honor Bill's songwriting legacy. And that's how we came upon, that particular song. I was just looking through his catalog. And, if you take away kind of the musical trappings, his lyrics are so direct and in many ways country, if you will. So they can, a great song is a great song is a great song. And that's another, an important thing to us. It's like they can be done many different ways. So it was exciting for us to be able to find some of those nuggets. I mean, our version of His Eyes on the Sparrow isn't, I've never heard another version quite like ours. It's usually a big, almost R&B gospel-y kind of thing. But you strip all that away and you read the lyric and it's like, wow, that's a really beautiful, simple in a way lyric. So we, tried to couch it in a more simple musical setting.
Were these original songs all recent writes, or did you have some of these in the can just waiting for the right project to toss them one?
Kind of a combination. The song that leads off the record, Somewhere Down the Road, I had written that, I want to say back in 2015 or 2016 with Leslie Satcher, an amazing songwriter here in Nashville who love her to death. She's like, we call each other soul sisters because we sit down and write and we'll be writing a song about the honky tonk one minute and turning around and saying a prayer and writing a gospel song the next. So we really come from the same place in that regard. So that one had been sitting around, and actually there's a song on the record that we used to do when Chris Stapleton was in the band. And it's I Will Someday. And he wrote that with his wife Morgan and with Ronnie and Garnet Bowman. And we used to do that and people loved it. It was always, a really different moment in our set. And, we just never got around to recording it. So Mike Fleming, our bass player, kind of said, hey, what about that song? And we pulled it up and kind of dusted it off, if you will. And it's really great that it's on the album. It's really great to kind of have that touchstone from when Chris was in the band and honor that time, but also, kind of bring it forward again.
Yeah, you talked about it a little bit earlier that you guys don't put out an album every year. Sometimes it takes a few years, but you wouldn't know with this one. Did I see that you guys got in the studio and were done in 4 days for this album?
Yes.
That's crazy.
I think, and I don't know if this is the way we'll work next time, but I sure enjoyed working this way. We literally got together. I mean, there was some prep work before those days, just kind of collecting the songs. And typically, the way we've done it the last couple albums is we'll send songs around, via email, and people will listen and comment. And so we'll kind of have a group of stuff that everybody's going, yeah, let's try that. That either I like the lyric or I like the music, or I think this would work well for the band. And then we all get together and in the same room and just start working them up. So everybody has input, even though these days I may be the primary songwriter, I don't choose them. I just send them out, I just kind of say here, because they're like my kids. I love them all. So yeah. I have to turn over the picking part to somebody else. But then we all get together in a room and everybody gets to be involved in the arrangement part and coming up with, with different ideas, and hey, well, this seems like the wrong key. Let's try it here, or let's try it a little faster. Let's try it a little slower. Let's put a solo here. All those types of things. So then everybody's really invested in it. So the way we did it this time, we had one practice like that, and we went in the studio and we had narrowed down our list of songs, and we would record in the morning. We did 4 tracks on Wednesday and Thursday, and then Richard and Brent, mandolin and banjo, they would leave because they're not singers in this band, and then we would do the vocals in the afternoon and evening. So by the end of the day, we would have pretty much 4 completed tracks. And we did that, let's see, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we only had 3 that we were trying to get. So we did that. And then Saturday was kind of our touch-up day, if you will. I know I added some strings on a couple things, replayed a solo or 2. Brent came back and added some octave mandolin stuff, and just various little touches. And Mike Fleming had a few harmony parts that he had left to do, and that was it.
That's awesome. So was there any other songs that were recorded during that session, or you guys knew exactly what you wanted? You got in, you got out, and there's no other songs in the vault?
No other songs in the vault.
So no deluxe edition for this one.
No, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to doing another day or 2 like that at some point to have more tracks, but for this particular record, I mean, we weren't sure if all of them would come together, so it's an 11 song. I mean, we were thinking initially that it would be 10, but once we got them all done, it just felt right. And it's hard to know. I mean, I go into these projects being aware of, tempo changes and different keys and different things like that, because I still think of them as albums. So I want them to flow song to song to song, when people used to listen to albums straight through rather than just picking and choosing singles. And sometimes you do that, and there still will be a song or 2 that just doesn't seem to fit at the end. But this time, man, it just all came together.
That's awesome.
And even down to sequencing, I think we came up with 1 or 2 different sequences, and they're like, yep, that works. We're all good.
In this era that we're in now of playlisting and singles, where people kind of just skim over some of the songs and maybe they'll go back and listen to some others a little more closely, which song would you prefer people to go back and give a few extra listens to on this project?
Oh, I would really love for people to check out 30 Silver Pieces. It's kind of down in the middle of the record, if you will, but I'm so proud of that. I'm proud of the writing on it. I'm proud of the performance. I'm proud of the arrangement. I'm just really super excited about that song. And it's the most fully produced track on the album, if you will. Layered up a bunch of strings, and Brent did an bouzouki part in addition to his mandolin part. Lush harmonies. It's really, really beautiful. So I hope that people will give that one a listen, even though it's down in the sequence, and it hasn't been released as a single yet. I'm not sure what the plan is now that the full record is out. I know we don't think of things as much, singles as we used to, but I sure hope that one will find its way.
You guys are kind of in the middle of like an 11-month tour, it seems like, just a full year tour right now. Will you be adding any more of these gospel tracks into the set for this last portion of the year?
Absolutely. Yeah. Once the first single came out back in July, as they have come out, or focus tracks, whatever you want to call them, we've been adding them into the set, and it's great, because they, again, musically, if you listen to that record and if you really weren't paying attention in most cases to the lyric, you wouldn't even know, because it sounds instrumentally, just like any other Steel Driver record. So it's been really easy to work them into our set and not have to go, okay, folks, we're shifting gears and we're going to do a gospel set here. It's just, nope, here's our next single and away we go. So
are there already plans to get the next secular record out there, or is there going to be still a 2-3 year break maybe here?
I don't know. I mean, we're talking about some ideas, but the other part of that is we want this record to have a life. And and it feels almost like if we were to come out with another record, say next spring, it would, the thought, I guess, would be, or the concern would be, would it cut this one off at the knees? Because we really believe in this record and want it to have every opportunity to find its way in the world. So we'll see. I mean, maybe if we did, it would probably be later in the year, next year. So
cool. Well, Tougher Than Nails is out there now. It's streaming. Not only is it streaming, it's also one of those weird albums you can still get on hard copy. You got the album and the vinyl out there for this one.
Vinyl. We were so thrilled. We actually sell a lot of vinyl. And I think, our fan base really gets excited about that. So we were thrilled that Gaither was on board with just immediately, as we had them last week. So it's been incredible to not have to wait 6 months or whatever to get the vinyl copy. And it's beautiful. I love their design, everything about it. I'm really, really pleased with how it came together.
All right. You guys go stream and pick that up. Tougher Than Nails from the SteelDrivers is out there now.